What counts as a death in these games? Is a question that ended up causing far more frustration than I anticipated. Is it each individual QTE, choice, or keep calm moment that has the potential to contribute to a death? Is it all the different causes of death a character can experience, even if these deaths happen within the same battle? Or is it all the different scenes where a character can die even if the exact same death animation is used every time? What I'm personally the most interested in, and what I eventually settled on for this tier list, is the number of different scenes where a character can die. The criteria for this tier list are as follows. A chase, fight, or other lengthy sequence where a character can die counts as one death, regardless of how many ways they can die within this sequence. If a character screws up in Chapter 11, resulting in a death in Chapter 14, I'll simply refer to it as character didn't survive fight in Chapter 14, combining all the different causes of death they can experience that fight. Lastly, if a character runs from the same threat multiple times, each individual chase counts as one death, even if the death animation is the same. A character can have one cause of death, but still need to watch out for it on numerous occasions. Those were all the criteria I've used. Let's start the tier list. There are a total of 42 playable characters across the Supermassive interactive horror lineup. Every character experiences at least one moment where they are in danger, regardless of your actions. That is, except for two people whose danger moments are entirely missable. In fact, one of these two characters is so unlikely to be in actual danger, I feel tempted to put him in a tier of his own. But I'll just stick to a missable death tier. The first character is Andrew from Little Hope.
Don't come back. Ain't nothing here for you no more.
Andrew, or Anthony, depending on how you look at it, can only die by performing multiple specific actions. Actions that the player is highly unlikely to do in their first playthrough. They must succeed in the Keep Calm minigame in the shed, choose to keep the gun, make sure the cops aren't called, not use up all the bullets, not shoot Angela so the gun isn't thrown away, and choose to execute Mary. Only by doing all of these will Andrew die. Doing anything else guarantees his survival, making him the character who experiences the least amount of danger. And the second character whose danger moment is missable, albeit far more likely to encounter, is Max from The Quarry.
What the fuck? Why am I on top of a fucking tree?
Max's danger moment is missed if Ryan doesn't shoot Chris Hackett. The thing is, Ryan will always, regardless of your choices, be able to shoot Chris, a dangerous werewolf who happens to be right in the middle of your view, as Ryan can pull the trigger. Not exactly something you'd miss easily. If you shoot Chris, everyone Chris infected becomes a human again, including Max. As a human, Max must choose between staying on the island or leaving. Better be safe than sorry. Those two were special cases. Now, onto the one death tier, characters who are guaranteed to be in danger once. Starting with Sam and Mike from Until Dawn.
Oh gosh, you look terrible.
Gonna look worse if we stay out here.
With how many life-threatening scenarios Mike is in during the story, it's kind of insane how he'll always make it to the end. Sam seems to have it easy compared to all other characters, though her experience isn't a walk in the park either. Only in the very last interactive scene are Sam and Mike in genuine danger. Making mistakes in this moment doesn't just mean death for Sam and Mike, but also for two other characters. Mike, however, is such a badass. Even when he dies, it's in the most awesome way possible.
How's that for you, fuck?
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
Josh from Until Dawn. There is one scene where Josh can die, turn into a Wendigo, or, in case of the remake, live while keeping his humanity. The requirements of his survival depend on whether you consider turning into a Wendigo as living. If you do, all you need to do is find Hannah's journal with Sam. If you don't, keeping him alive requires a whole bunch of setup throughout the game, making him one of the hardest characters to keep alive in the whole series. Next to finding Hannah's journal, Josh must express regret to his therapist, and lastly, nobody gets killed by a Wendigo before Josh enters the Wendigo lair. However, if a character dies through other means than Wendigos, Josh is okay. If they get attacked by Wendigos after Josh walked through the lair, Josh is okay too. Josh's survival is highly requested by fans, and they made sure you work for it. Nick from The Quarry.
You've already got it wrong once. It might even be Nick.
Your friend?
Nick can only die through the actions of Laura, or better said, when you fail to stop Laura as Ryan. It's a rather bizarre death, honestly. Laura sees a werewolf in a cage and ends up in some trance-like state, where she considers shooting the werewolf without thinking about what she's doing. It definitely caught me off guard when it happened the first time, and I managed to save him just in time. On to the 2 death tier, starting with Ashley from Until Dawn.
Who's there? Anybody? Jessica! Is it you?
Despite appearing in 4 seemingly life-threatening moments, only 2 of them are genuinely dangerous. And in one of them, you're not even controlling Ashley. Her first death is opening the trapdoor. Her second death is if Sam fails to save her in the end confrontation. Either Ash gets attacked by a Wendigo or is burned alive if she failed to escape in time. Chris from Until Dawn. The first instance where Chris can die is when he's chased by the Wendigo and looking for Josh. Chris survives this encounter by succeeding all QTEs, shooting the Wendigo at every opportunity, and not try to shoot Ashley earlier in the story. Ashley even locks Chris out if she insists he shoots her instead of himself.
You chose to save me.
Oh, fuck.
Let me choose this time. Let me choose to save you.
Next to that choice, Chris is in danger if he stays behind near the end. Staying behind means Chris will encounter the same trapdoor that can kill Ashley, and he can die in the same fashion. If the trapdoor is already opened by Ashley, the Wendigo is guaranteed to kill Chris, even if he picks a different direction. To my surprise, Chris cannot die in the end confrontation in the lodge. Even if you make all the wrong choices, Chris always manages to escape. Jessica from Until Dawn. Jessica dies if Mike fails to reach her in time. Kind of a weird way to go. I guess the idea is that the Wendigo sees Mike catching up and somehow considers him a threat. The second death makes more sense. Simply fail to escape the Wendigo in the mines. Shittiest way to go for Jessica has to be if Matt ditches her, using her as bait to give himself a chance to escape. John from Little Hope. Little Hope has a unique but rather confusing and unfair mechanic called locked traits. To get a character to survive, it's essential to break their locks. This can only be achieved by giving a specific response in a specific scene. If you give the wrong response, the character in question will die anticlimactically in the Full Circle chapter. And if you execute Mary, every character but Andrew gets murdered in Full Circle, regardless of any other choices. Before Full Circle, John has only one moment where his demon can kill him. Props to him, though, for being one of the few with the guts to actually fight back.
Come on, you fuck, I'm ready!
Mark from The Devil in Me. Wait a minute. Mark only has 2 moments where he's in danger? Really? He appears to be in danger a lot more. But to my surprise, Mark always makes it to the near end, regardless of your actions. There is the big boat fight where everyone can die, but Mark also dies if the cycle continues ending is triggered. This only happens if everyone but Kate and Mark die before the reunion chapter, and Kate falls for Dumet's trap. Once this ending is triggered, there is nothing Mark can do anymore to survive. At most, he can buy a bit more time. Caitlin from The Quarry. Caitlin is one of the characters that made me reconsider this whole ranking, because there are only 2 moments in the game where she is in danger, but look at all the different ways she can die within this one fight. They went all out with the causes of death here. Next to the end fight in the lodge, she can die in the junkyard scene through various means. 2 fights for survival, both with some wild outcomes. Laura and Ryan from The Quarry. 2 completely different characters who both can die in the showdown at the Hackett's house and in the end confrontation with Silas. Ryan can die if he refuses the werewolf bite from Laura, gets shot by Travis, or Bobby stabs him after he shoots Travis. Laura dies in the Hackett showdown if she shot Travis in prison, or if Ryan shoots her? What? How? Why? Ha ha ha, wow. I can't believe they added that. Makes 0 sense for Ryan to do this, but that's what makes it fun. Both characters can get killed by Silas in the car or immediately afterwards when they go to his nest. Linda and Sam from the casting of Frank Stone. Despite how big their roles are, there are only 2 sequences where they're genuinely in danger. One being the big fight with Frank Stone in the past, the other being the chase in the manor in the future.
Fatality.
In every other seemingly dangerous scene, they get injured or captured, at worst. If you were to count the past and future versions of them as different characters, they'd all be in the one death tier. Madison from the casting of Frank Stone. Aside from the end chase in the manor, Madison only has one other danger moment. It's when she tries to activate the portal, but things go south, leading to one of the most creative deaths in this game. Yikes. And onto the 3 death tier, starting with Emily from Until Dawn. Another character who appears in more danger than she really is. It's not until she encounters a Wendigo in the mines she can actually die. She'll either die by not outrunning the Wendigo, getting shot by Mike, or failing to escape the lodge in time. Emily is also the only character shitty enough to push someone out of the way to escape first. Oh, Emily, never change. Matt from Until Dawn. Despite spending most of his time at Emily's side, all of Matt's deaths are in different moments than Emily's deaths. His first danger moment is when he decides to attack the deer and fails to climb back. His second death is rather cryptic. Matt will be in danger if he decides to help Emily twice in a row. He'll only survive this moment if he disagrees to go to the fire tower. Emily gives him the flare gun and Matt manages to shoot the Wendigo in time. His third death is, like Jessica, to simply fail to outrun the Wendigo in the mine. Jason and Salim from House of Ashes. The less these men can die, the better. One of the few times Supermassive characters were so damn likable that I hated to see them go, regardless of how they died. Luckily, they always make it close to the end, despite the fact they are in a lot of fights. From the moment they try to escape the nest, they're pretty much in constant danger. Attacked by vampires near the nest, attacked by vampire Rachel or Clarice in the cave, ending in an epic last stand in the hut. While they die in the same moments, their causes of death aren't always the same. Some of the differences between these deaths are that Jason can only get killed by vampire Rachel, whereas Salim can only get killed by vampire Clarice. Rachel can shoot Salim in the elevator if Salim killed Eric, and Jason is the only one who can get hit by a spear. Nick from House of Ashes. Similar to the previous two, but Nick's death is one chapter before Jason and Salim's potential death. He can also get killed by vampire Clarice and not by vampire Rachel. And, of course, he can die in the last stand. Main reason why I'm mentioning him separate from the previous two is the fact they are Jason and Salim. And he's Nick. Next! Kate from The Devil in Me. Like Mark, Kate dies when the cycle continues ending is triggered, and she can get killed in the boat fight. The only addition she has is one moment where she's put in a trap with Jamie, and it's up to Jamie whether to sacrifice herself to save Kate or kill Kate to save herself. Abigail from The Quarry. If this were a dark picture anthology game, a hard decision would be Abby's downfall. When Nick attacks her in human form, Abby must shoot him. If she decides to wait it out, Nick insta-kills her once he turns into a werewolf. The second moment where Abby is in danger is surprisingly hard to trigger, as well as it's surprisingly hard to save her once it's triggered. Emma must get infected in Chapter 4, which is hard to do because at multiple points in that chase, the werewolf will kill Emma. You'd have to look up the specific moments where the werewolf will merely infect her without dealing the fatal blow. You can save Abby by shooting Emma with Caitlin, except werewolf Emma runs by fast, and her speed caught me off guard. Even when I knew it was coming, it was surprisingly hard to hit her. If Emma didn't get bitten in Chapter 4 by Max, but was bitten by Caleb in Chapter 6, she will turn into a werewolf and attack Abby in Chapter 9 too. Speaking of Emma...
Cut the shit, Emma. Show's over. Go home.
Fuck you! Really hurt.
Emma from The Quarry. As stated before, the chase by werewolf Max is the first moment Emma is in danger. Shot with silver bullets by Caitlin is the second way to go. And the third moment she can die is the hardest to trigger. She must be infected by Max. Ryan must shoot Chris and Caleb must infect Jacob. If those conditions are met, Jacob stumbles into Emma in the woods and turns into a werewolf. Emma can only survive this moment if Jacob found her silver bracelet all the way in Chapter 1, scaring off the werewolf. Dylan from The Quarry. Last character to be tied to werewolf Emma. If Kaylin doesn't shoot Emma, Emma will devour Dylan in this scene too. The second danger moment is when Dylan and Caitlin are attacked in the junkyard. This scene has multiple different outcomes, but it's possible only Dylan dies, only Caitlin dies, Caitlin gets infected, Dylan gets infected, or they both survive unharmed. Trying to get one of these specific outcomes without looking up a guide is asking for things to go wrong. Lastly, he needs to be saved by Caitlin. Again, this time in the end fight in the lodge. Damn, Caitlin sure has a lot of lives on her shoulders. No wonder the final girl trophy is assigned to her. Anyways, I'm starting to think cutting off Dylan's hand is a bad idea. At least the werewolf curse protects him from all the dangers. Chris from the casting of Frank Stone. Unlike Linda and Sam, there is only one Chris, and she can die in both the future and the past. First moment of danger is when she decides to go back to the past and things go wrong. Arguably the grossest death in any Supermassive game. If she successfully travels to the past, it's still possible for her to die in the fight against Frank Stone. If she stays in the future, she can die in the end chase in the manor. But that's easier said than done. Frank can only consume her if Stan is dead. Madison doesn't have the pendant and didn't take the drink. And Sam chooses not to sacrifice himself. Should Chris have the pocket mirror or the pendant, trying to travel through the magical projector will also kill her in brutal fashion. I've never played Dead by Daylight. What is going on? And on to the 4-death tier. There are only 2 characters in the 4-death tier, and they happen to be a couple. A couple you may have seen at the bottom of my couple ranking video, Daniel and Taylor from Little Hope. Like John, these two can also die anticlimactically in the Full Circle chapter, either by failing to break their locks or executing Mary. They, however, have more moments where their demons can kill them. With Daniel, they're the chapters Surrounded, Low Point, and Ruined. With Taylor, they're in Surrounded, Low Point, and Reflections. Interesting detail regarding Taylor's death is that her demon and cause of death is entirely dependent on how Tanya dies in the opening. If Tanya dies by hanging, a demon will strangle Taylor to death. If Tanya dies by fire, a different demon burns her. It doesn't affect the actual moments where she's in danger, but it's a cool detail the game rewards you with upon replaying. With those 2 out of the way, onto the 5-death tier, Alex from Man of Medan. Say what you want about Man of Medan, but it has some of the most diverse death scenes of any Supermassive game, with a wide range of causes of deaths, and each character having 5 or more points in which they can die. They went above and beyond with all the different deaths in this game. In Man of Medan, you can trigger different epilogues or end fights, where all the characters have the potential to die depending on where they are at that point in the story. One of these scenes is standing face to face with an agitated Junior and fail to calm him down. Another is the Flooded chapter where the gang fights Olsen. Third one is the Matters of the Heart chapter where Alex suffers from wild hallucinations and has the option to attack himself or someone else. Fourth one is dying in the epilogue, either due to the military assault or simply failing to escape the ship. Before all these take place, Alex can die when he and Julia are chased by Olsen. So yeah, during most of the story, Alex is actually safe. It's all the different branches near the end where the real danger lies. Conrad from Man of Medan. Like Alex, Conrad has a couple of standard fights and deaths most characters can experience. One of them being dying in the epilogue. On top of being shot by the military or failing to escape, Conrad has a unique death where he travels to the ship to save everyone, only to find out they're already gone. By the time he realizes he needs to get out of there, it's already too late. Before the epilogue, Conrad can also take part in the fight with Olsen in the Flooded chapter, or get attacked by a hallucinating Alex in Matters of the Heart. But Conrad has 2 other danger moments unique to him, failing to dodge the bullet when trying to escape on the speedboat, and dying while getting chased by a hot woman. Every man's worst dream. Granted, she turns into a monster later on, but that doesn't make it any less weird that Conrad is already this freaked out when she still appears relatively normal. Julia from Man of Medan. Going to repeat myself a lot, so I'll keep it brief. Matters of the Heart hallucination, fighting Olsen and Flooded. Upsetting an agitated Junior. Not surviving the chase by Olsen with Alex. And dying in the epilogue through whatever means, which Julia can also do because of the decompression sickness. This potential death is set in motion early in the story, but doesn't take effect until the epilogue, making it the death that takes the longest to play out.
Julia! Fuck! Fuck, Julia, hey!
This is the Benz, isn't it?
Fuck!
Angela from Little Hope. The Little Hope character that has the most danger on her plate, not surviving full circle, fighting her own demon who can kill her in the chapters The Crossing, Lost, and Heavy Burden. But one extra death unique to Angela, getting shot by Andrew.
I'm so sorry.
This can't be happening. We saw her get taken back at the museum. There's no way she could be wandering around out here.
It's one thing to have severe guilt over your helplessness towards people in need, but to be the one who is responsible for their death is a whole different thing. Anthony can't catch a break. Aaron from The Devil in Me. This is the character I personally had the most trouble keeping alive. Her first 3 potential deaths consist of 50-50 choices. Picking the wrong action is an insta-kill, and I picked the wrong action in the first 2 choices, thinking it was the more logical option. Wasn't until my 3rd playthrough Aaron actually survived. The first choice is whether to attack Dumet or take the inhaler. The second is whether to follow commands from a voice that sounds like Jamie. Third death is if Jamie sacrifices Aaron in the suffocation room. The rest are simply getting attacked by Dumet in a big chase or in the boat fight. Survival isn't made easy for Aaron. Jacob from The Quarry. This dude just wanted to spend time with a girl he has a crush on and ends up causing a night of pure horror for all involved. His heart meant no harm, but his head was not in the game. I also think Jacob is the hardest to keep alive in The Quarry, and he was the only one of the playable characters who didn't survive in my first playthrough. If you take the rotor arm, Jacob will try to get it back, but can drown in the progress. Ryan can shoot Jacob if he shoots at the bushes twice. I was rather disappointed to see nobody checks on what Ryan has been shooting at. No one will know what happened to Jacob if he dies like this. Later, Jacob is chased by a werewolf and can either get killed by the werewolf or fall with his head into a bear trap. Yikes. Once Jacob is captured by the Hacketts, it's possible for Werewolf Nick to kill him. This is a rather crappy way to lose Jacob because unless Jacob is infected, Ryan must solve a quick puzzle on the spot. It caught me completely off guard and I was too nervous to think of a proper solution. If Jacob is still alive, not shooting Chris Hackett will endanger his life once more, because now Chris will walk the woods again and attack Jacob, successfully perform the QTEs, and Jacob will survive. Jaime from the casting of Frank Stone. Technically, not saving the baby in the opening counts as a death of Jaime. The Sam from the future is from an alternative reality where the opening of the game took place. And if he died, it will be mentioned.
One that says you failed to save Frank Stone's final victim. An infant. My own best friend. Who I grew up with. Jaime Rivera.
Second death is trying to save your girlfriend without going to the drugstore first. I wish I was joking. If you don't go to the drugstore first, Jaime won't buy firecrackers. He'll use these firecrackers to fight off Frank. If you want to keep Jaime alive without firecrackers, he must abandon Chris, but this will end their relationship.
Whoa, hey!
Oh, no, I deserve that.
Kind of a lame move to hide such important consequences behind a seemingly unimportant coin toss decision. Later, Jaime can die if Linda doesn't manage to lift him up in the hunting ground chapter, die in the murder mill chapter if Linda fails to fight off Frank Stone, and the very last moment where Jaime is in danger is near the end, where Sam stumbles into Jaime and fails to fight off Frank Stone. 5 deaths, and only 1 is in his direct control. Damn! And we've arrived at the 6th death tier, starting with Brad from Man of Medan. Again, epilogue death, flooded fight, and failing to calm Junior down. And that's where Brad's similarities with the previous Man of Medan characters end, actually. Brad is the only one who can't die in the Matters of the Heart chapter, but he shares a couple of other deaths with Fliss. He can get killed by a hallucinating Fliss. If he hallucinates too, it appears he's attacked by a zombie. He can drown if Fliss fails to break the hinge. He can die when they chase Conrad together, either by falling from the ladder or getting attacked by Conrad himself. Rachel from House of Ashes. Rachel experiences notably more danger than the previous House of Ashes characters. She can die in 6 different chapters, in wildly different ways. First moment of genuine danger comes from the fight in the Assault chapter, where she either gets killed by a vampire, the trap wire, or if Eric shoots the generator.
Rachel!
Damn, never seen that one. But there is an even rarer death scene. I'd argue the rarest supermassive death of all, since it's the only death I found 0 footage of and I didn't manage to trigger it myself when trying to get it in the curator cut. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to only be possible in shared story. During the Ancient One chapter, if Eric is dead, Rachel isn't infected and the door is successfully shut, fail the Keep Calm QTE. Don't help Rachel when she's attacked and the Ancient One will kill her. The remaining deaths consist of getting hit by the spear in the horror chapter, killed by Clarice in the cave or die in the last stand, and then there is the whole situation regarding Rachel getting infected. Arguably the trickiest scene to keep her alive since it's unclear what exactly is supposed to help. She can turn into a vampire, get shot by Jason, or burn herself alive.
Rachel!
Charlie from The Devil in Me. I don't think I'll make a video about the worst deaths in these games, or characters who overall have the worst possible time. But if I were to do that, Charlie would be a contender for a high spot. He either fails to escape a furnace and brutally burns alive, falls into a damn waste disposal, or gets betrayed by colleagues who think he's in cahoots with Doomad. Next to those, Charlie gets stabbed when he fails to keep quiet in the freezer during the cliffside chapter, can fall off a high cliff not long after, or die on the boat fight. He's a prick, but not a "you deserve this" kind of prick. Jamie from The Devil in Me. One of the few characters who has the option to sacrifice herself to save someone else directly. I refused in my playthrough to make her kill Kate, which made Jamie survive by dumb luck, because she just happened to carry a screwdriver. The walls can close in on Jamie too soon when they try to trap Dumet. She can get impaled in the chase chapter, axed in the chest in the maze chapter, or simply fail to survive the boat fight. The death that sucked the most, the one that made me lose her in my first playthrough, was me refusing to kill the dog after asking Kate for help. You're not supposed to ask Kate for help or kill the dog to survive. Really? Onto the 7 death tier, starring only one character, and that character is Fliss from Man of Medan. Fliss has the exact same death conditions as Brad, except she can experience a death in matters of the heart. She's also the character who has some of the most varied causes of death, being able to get shot, stabbed, fall, drown, electrocuted, choked, head bashed in, or throat slit. Again, Man of Medan went nuts with their deaths, and it's awesome. There is only one tier above this. It features one character who is in danger a whopping 8 times during the game. If you haven't guessed already, it's Eric from House of Ashes. I genuinely had no idea Eric could die this many times. I guess I just happened to play my cards right in the first playthrough. On paper, he definitely is the character who is the hardest to keep alive, in terms of the sheer amount of moments where he's in genuine danger. First moment where you can lose Eric, dying while he's holding onto Rachel, either by refusing to cut the rope or getting shot by Dar. Then he can be shot by Salim in the Truce chapter, shot by Dar again in the Signal chapter, running into the trap wire, getting attacked by the Ancient One or Clarice in the Horror chapter, or not surviving the chase in the Ancient One chapter through various means. Attacked by vampire Rachel again in the cave near the end. Or he can die in the Last Stand through various means. Damn, Eric, speaking of a character who fought for survival, nothing came on a silver platter to both the character and the player. So here it is, the complete tier list. Which criteria would you have picked? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.